Good morning, everyone. I'm Eva Barenson, the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Liaison Officer at Enterprise Estonia. On behalf of both Enterprise Estonia and the Estonian Research Council, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to our webinar today on European innovation ecosystems and the innovation landscape of the Baltic states. 240 innovation promoters from all over Europe and even the US have registered for today's event. I would particularly like to welcome and thank our co-organizers from the Latvian Office for Innovation and Technology in Brussels, the Lithuanian Research Development Innovation Liaison Office in Brussels, and the Lithuanian Agency for Science, Innovation and Technology, as well as our speakers from the European Commission, Baltic states governments, and the national support networks of EIE. The current COVID-19 pandemic crisis has reminded us very sharply that science and innovation have a central role at addressing crisis and societal challenges, as well as helping us find answers. Again, the need to innovate, to develop new solutions and products have been underlined, not only to address these challenges, but also to increase the resilience of our economies and societies in the long run. Crises offer opportunities for those who can react quickly and effectively. The biggest winners this time are those who adapted their products and processes quickly. Companies that provide safe remote work and meetings, distance learning, pharmaceutical companies, and many others. As Winston Churchill once said, never waste a good crisis. The importance of strong collaboration between researchers, universities, businesses, public authorities, and wider civil society has again been underlined. And also the European Innovation Ecosystems Program supports such kind of interconnection and cooperation. Enterprise Estonia and the Estonian Research Council promote closer cooperation between companies and universities to help this to become more innovative and globally competitive. We provide research program for companies, scientists mobility, research and development advisors posts at the sectoral organizations, and consult on EU's innovation funding opportunities. But of course, we have several other innovation services available also. Today's webinar will look at how EU's Research and Innovation Framework Programme Horizon Europe can support European innovation ecosystems and how national systems can best benefit from this. On a practical note, may I thank all of you who have already sent in questions. Others may still do so during the webinar by placing them in chat. After this opening panel, my very good colleague from the Estonian Research Council, Ülenapa, will take over as a moderator. Finally, let me wish you all a very interesting and inspiring webinar. And now I will pass the screen for the opening address to our co-organizers from Latvia and Lithuania. Please, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, all co-organizers. Let me also address the audience by saying a warm welcome also from Latvian Investment Development Agency and the representation in Brussels to attend this event. And just to use this opportunity to highlight that from 1st of April, Latvian Office for Innovation and Technology in Brussels has started active work, and we are happy to join the merry family of similar offices in Brussels, and also to help Latvian innovators to be more present and to find the way around different activities, European Commission initiatives and platforms to take an active part in their own fields on European sphere. We have ecosystem approach in Latvia, and our office is there to help to Latvian partners to connect, to inform, and to support the dialogue. We have strong ecosystems in smart materials, photonics, biomedicine, biotech, and European ICT ecosystem, and also more to follow. I wish everybody to have an insightful morning, and don't hesitate to contact me to connect with Latvian parties, and for Latvian parties to connect with European parties. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear colleagues, Eva and Egita, and it's really a pleasure also on behalf of Lithuanian co-organizers. I'm the head of the Lithuanian Liaison Office for Research and Innovation, and there's another partner from Lithuania, the Lithuanian Agency for Science, Innovation and Technology, that is jointly co-organizing this event. Actually, this is the first time that we have all three Baltic countries together on this online events platform. We've made quite some events together with the good colleagues from Estonia, and we're very happy that Latvia is joining Brussels scene, finally. And as Eva mentioned, this pandemic is really giving some opportunities, and these online events is one of them. So we can have a look at how diverse the participants we have today. Julia, could you show the slide of some statistics? As you see, we have, of course, a lot of Estonians, Latvians and Lithuanians, but not only. We have also Belgians, people from France, Sweden, and even United States. So you all are very welcome. And indeed, this is an event about ecosystems. And let's use this opportunity to find more, not only about the Baltic countries, but in general, what the Commission has prepared for us. Thank you very much. Enjoy this event, and let's stay tuned because there will be more events coming in May. Ula, the screen is back to you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ula Napa. I'm from Estonian Research Council, and I will be the moderator of this event. And some general remarks. So we have received your questions. Thank you very much. We have already sent your questions to the speakers, and they try to address those questions already during their presentations. Of course, you are very welcome to post any questions in the chat. We will monitor the chat constantly, and we pick up questions from there. If you are not speaking, then perhaps you can switch off your cameras for a better connection, and the event will be recorded. And afterwards, we will share the slides and the recording. So you don't have to make a lot of notes. And I think we can start with the first speaker. Firstly, we will have some introduction to the Baltic innovation landscape, and we have asked 3 speakers from 3 Baltic states to present how is the innovation landscape in the Baltic countries. So please, our first speaker is Mikkoftros from the Ministry of Economic Affairs of Estonia. So please, Mikk.
Yes, thank you, Ula, and good morning to everyone. And of course, thank you to the organizers for organizing this event and inviting me to give a short overview of the Estonian innovation landscape. As Ula said, my name is Mikkoftros. I am the scientific advisor for the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. So I deal with different topics on research, development and innovation, including Horizon Europe, European Innovation Council and European Innovation Ecosystems. Next slide, please. So the responsible body for developing and coordinating Estonian innovation policy is the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. And we work together with Enterprise Estonia, who is the national funding agency supporting innovation and growth of enterprises. The most important strategy which deals with innovation and research and development is the Research, Development, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Strategy for 2021 to 2033, which is a new joint strategy with the Ministry of Education and Research. Similarly, the European Horizon, we have 3 pillars in our strategy. First pillar concentrates on the research system to provide high-level, impactful and diverse research system. The third pillar concentrates on the growth of Estonian business environment to improve the knowledge-intensive business sector, increase the export of products and services with higher value. And our the second pillar concentrates on the cooperation between the research system and business environment, so that Estonia development is founded on knowledge-based and innovative solutions. Next slide, please. Of course, our innovation and research system depends heavily on the European regional development funds. So the national smart specialization strategy is very focal in our activities. And for the new framework program, Estonia has selected 4 topics of specialization area, which are digital solutions in all the areas of life, to support the digital transition, valorization of local resources like food, wood, minerals, but also bioeconomy and circular economy. Third area is health and technologies and services. Special focus is on personal medicine, but also on health technologies and the export of these technologies. And the fourth area is smart and green energy solutions to support the green transition and the climate neutral targets. Next slide. So to support our innovation policy, there are several intervention logics. First of all, our aim is to provide services for enterprises to raise R&D awareness and build capacity. Our aim is to create tailored solutions for businesses and give support and counsel throughout different technology readiness levels. Our focus has shifted from grants to more financial instruments. And of course, a very important part of this innovation policy and innovation system is the knowledge and workforce transfer between enterprises and R&D institutions, so that the good ideas that are created in the universities could be transferred to businesses, to products, to economic growth. Of course, one of the focus points is international R&D projects and programs, especially European Horizon. Also, we deal with strengthening the demand-side innovation policy, in particular public innovation procurements. And of course, our aim is to further develop our very good startup ecosystems. Next slide. Regarding the expectations for European innovation ecosystems, of course, first of all, as the work program is quite new, our main expectation is to learn how our enterprises, R&D institutions, universities, public authorities could take part and get involved with these activities. For sure, we are very happy to see that Innovative SMEs or previously Eurostars program will continue and be part of the EIE work program, and Estonia aims to take part in it and allocate at least 4.2 million euros during the partnership. Some other topics that are related to different parts of the work program which are important for Estonia are, for example, developing our innovation procurement program, but also strengthening national and regional innovation ecosystems, which are connected to the Connect destination, and supporting startups, creating suitable ecosystem for business growth, and also enhancing entrepreneurial skills and attracting foreign investments, which are connected to the scale-up destination. Next slide. So thank you for this opportunity to give a short overview. And if you have any questions, then you're free to contact me anytime.
Thank you very much, Mikk. So we will go on with Latvia now. And our next speaker is Reinis Aasis from Latvian Investment and Development Agency. So Reinis, please, the floor is yours.
Yep. Hey, Ulla, thanks for the word. You see, I've already mic'd up for the next event, so I'll try to be short. So first of all, thanks for organizing this event. And indeed, as already before said, Latvia is very pleased to join this friendly community of R&D offices in Brussels. And actually, we look forward not only to close cooperation with the European Commission and other institutional stakeholders, but also with our friendly neighbors, Estonia and Lithuania. So next slide, please. So basically why it's quite exciting time to be talking about smart specialization as was done by my colleague from Estonia before, and about Latvian involvement in the community is because via the RRF and also together with MMF funds currently will be exploiting a venture that is called productivity reform. So in a nutshell, so the Latvian government has decided to strategically change its involvement with the R&D infrastructure in the country, in the economy, and therefore has brought forward very ambitious KPIs, both for the businesses and research organizations. And the essence of the productivity reform, I would say, is twofold. One is by far better policy coordination and various new initiatives where our agency will be in charge of, say, putting the particular emphasis and drawing up strategies for our smart specialization sectors, and also, of course, financial support, but financial support in a smart way, if you will. So moving away from, similarly to other countries, I suppose, from grant financing, but more particular for project preparation, for in-depth investigation for the projects, as well as to forging strong international consortiums. So we're very pleased that we already have opened since April 1st the office in Brussels, which is first of many technological and R&D offices around the globe that we plan to open this and next year. So as you can feel, probably very enthusiastic to work and cannot await. So next slide, please. So basically, in a nutshell, this reform simply coordinates the policy implementation, policy drawing up and implementation in a much better way. So we also have 5 smart specialization areas instead of 4, as for instance in the Estonian case. But I suppose the biggest difference is that we have also forged a strong ecosystem approach together with OECD. The OPSI team, we are currently carrying out a project for anticipation innovation governance, and so how to best create new ecosystems and align the existing ones with the future of the innovation and business landscape. And so all these processes and all our supervision is going to be carried out via the Smart Specialization Council. So there's going to be a council for each sector. which is going to coordinate financial instruments, both on the side of economics and education, and also support for particular companies, research organizations, and others. As I told you before, emphasis on networking, high added value project preparation, and others. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before, the smart specialization fields are 5: knowledge intensive bioeconomy, biomedicine, smart materials, energy, and ICT. And in each of these, we're actually forging particular value chain ecosystems as niches of these segments. So for instance, in smart materials, we have a photonics smart materials ecosystem. And next slide, please. I can just briefly illustrate the track record, for instance, of this particular smart ecosystem value chain. So we provide support in terms of so finding these ecosystems if partners are not familiar with one another, and also in internationalizing these ecosystems, so putting them in contact with a broader European international scale. While we're very enthusiastic about this event and kind of working closer also with European Commission. Then, of course, we do more classical, traditional R&D stuff with technology transfer support and other mechanisms. Obviously, all the KPIs are led in order to increase the export and competitiveness of Latvian businesses. And maybe last but not least, I think it's very important that also in Latvia, we just pushed through the legislation that significantly improves the speed of administrative procedures for any larger scale projects. And actually R&D involvement is central in order to get this increased speed for administrative procedures. It is 2 times faster, and actually, yeah, we're very enthusiastic that we managed to persuade our policymakers that this support should be not only for the foreign enterprises, but also for local ones. And next slide, please. Yep. So next steps. I mean, EGIT is here in the meeting. We're very open for closer cooperation with our partners. So feel free to reach out to us either via EGITA or me or any others, and we'll be more than glad to kind of draw up a joint action plan, and then just let's see where it goes from there. So thank you very much, and again, success to all today, and thanks for organizing the event. Take care.
Thank you very much, Reinis, for this very good overview. Now we will go on with our Lithuanian presentation, and we have Rikardas Valančiauskas from the Ministry of Economy and Innovation of Lithuania. So please, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you. So hello to all of the participants. So actually, I won't be using the slides today because it's so hard to visualize the whole ecosystem, the policies and incentives that we are having in Lithuania. So I only envy my colleagues from Latvia and Estonia that they managed to do that. So, but I will try to explain it briefly without using some visual stuff. And I will start, of course, when we talk about the ecosystems, there are 2 ways to explain the ecosystems for those who are not very familiar with the ecosystems. So first, by introducing the main stakeholders. And the second part is probably the areas, thematic sectorial areas where the country excels and is aiming to excel even more. So starting from the stakeholders, from the main players in the innovation ecosystem. So of course, we have to start with the policymakers, with the government. And here we are talking about the policymakers and the implementing bodies. So of course, in Lithuania, there are 2 ministries that are directly involved in the development of innovation policies. So the Ministry of Economy and Innovation, which deals with development of businesses, innovative businesses, and of course, the Ministry of Science, Education and Sports, which encourages the use of research results from the universities and institutes to be put in the market. But even more important player is, of course, the implementing institutions. And at the moment, we have several different agencies, several different bodies that encourages Lithuanian companies, startups, other entities to develop innovations, and we see it as a challenge, and that's why we're in a beginning of changing the system of implementing bodies in Lithuania. And the idea is that next year Lithuania will have only one governmental agency responsible for the whole innovation ecosystem. So we think it will definitely help for us in Lithuania to provide even better services for our clients, but also to be more connected within the European networks, what the European innovation ecosystems will be all about. Then, of course, other stakeholders are the clients, at least from the public perspective, and these clients are, of course, businesses and research organizations, science institutions. So I don't even want to start. So what is the structure of Lithuanian businesses? So of course we have startups, we have more advanced companies, we have traditional companies that we're aiming to push them towards innovation more. And when we talk about research organizations, so of course universities and institutes are the main players and the basis for innovations that are based on R&D results. And probably the fourth very important stakeholders group is, of course, the facilitators. And by facilitators, I mean various associations. So we have a lot of strong associations in Lithuania, industrialists, biotechnologists, and others. So again, the list would be that long that I will not even start naming all of those names. And the second thing is, of course, what my colleagues presented, the areas, thematic areas is, and we talk here about smart specialization. So in Lithuania, we are in the end of fine-tuning our previous smart specialization strategy. And it looks like that we will have three main areas, thematic areas in the upcoming period. So we have ICT, we have health technologies and biotechnologies as the second thematic priority. And the third one is advanced materials, engineering decisions, smart processes, and similar stuff. And of course, within these smart specialization areas, there are several areas where Lithuania is well recognized, even worldwide. And here I'm talking about the Lithuanian achievements in life sciences and optics and laser technologies. But at the same time, we are exploring opportunities to develop new sectors, new thematic areas in Lithuania by trying to meet the trends, global trends. And here I'm talking basically about educational technologies, edtech, about space tech, technologies that are directing space technologies, game tech, and other techs. We have a lot of techs now in Lithuania as well. We are trying to explore, and I think these techs, these areas will be part of the European innovation ecosystems as well. And lastly, so our expectations from this new initiative from the European Commission. So we have really high expectations for that. So first of all, of course, it's connectedness, because we think connectedness is of key importance to us. So in this regard, we definitely, as the country, would like to strengthen cooperation with other innovation ecosystems across Europe, starting with the Baltic Sea region, but not only limiting ourselves to the Baltic Sea region. So we are really curious about those early sites of at least talks of foundations of joint financial assistance. So if it's going to be developed in the near future, so definitely Lithuania is willing to join these discussions and be part of those foundations. The second part is, of course, the dialogue between various stakeholders of those innovation ecosystems, dialogue on best practices, and I guess it's relevant for all of us. And since Lithuania has high ambitions to modernize its national innovation ecosystem, starting with the Innovation Agency, next year. So we are very keen to learn about the best practice in other countries. So how to improve existing instruments, combine them, deal with the gaps in the innovation processes. And at the same time, of course, we are ready to share our own experience. Innovation procurement is another interesting area, and I think there's a really sound basis for us to do common joint things across Europe. Development of regulatory environments. I'm talking here about the sandboxes. So Lithuania is a great example of one particular sandbox is fintech sandbox. So these kind of sandboxes, I guess, could and should also be part of the ecosystems and part of the program. So yeah, this is a brief introduction. It's very hard to say everything in 5 minutes because I would need at least 1 hour to present everything, but I did my best, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Before this event, we received one question as well for the speakers, and it was about existing innovation ecosystems in Baltic countries. And I think the speakers addressed it quite well in the presentations. And as the presentations will be shared with you, you can look it up afterwards as well. And I noticed already that there are some links, and as well, my colleague Brigitta posted some links to the chat as well. So if you have some other links, what you would like to share with the audience, you're very welcome to post the links here. And we had already 2 questions for the speakers as well. First of them requires maybe discussion before answering that. So perhaps I encourage the speakers to answer those questions in the chat. But at the moment, we would go on with the next speaker. So we heard about Baltic innovation landscape, and now we would hear more about the European Innovation Ecosystem Work Programme, and we are very honored to welcome our guest speaker, Fabienne GAUTIER from European Commission, and she will present the European Innovation Ecosystem and will share what kind of policies were behind of this creating of this work program, and what topics will be covered in the first work program as well. So I would give the floor then our guest speaker from European Commission. Please, Fabienne.
Thank you, Uli, and also thank you to the audience and also to the organizers for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. And that I'm given also the occasion to present what will come next under our Innovation Ecosystems Work Programme under Horizon Europe. In my presentation, I will give you the context and the broad lines of the work programme. I have received, and thanks to the organizers, I have received already some of the questions which have been asked in relation to our work programme and the future initiatives. I will answer them all. I'll try to answer already some of them during my presentation, but for sure there is a question and answers session, and it will be my pleasure also to provide you more information, more details about the questions that have been asked. So next slide, please. So just to give the audience the context of innovation ecosystems under Horizon Europe. It's the first time that we have a dedicated section on innovation ecosystems in Horizon Europe in Pillar 3 of the framework program, which is an important novelty, given that it specifically addresses also the players of innovation ecosystems in Europe, and also the various ecosystems in Europe, be they local, regional, national, or also moving at European level. The European ecosystems under Horizon Europe will be complementary in terms of policy setting to the European Innovation Council, and also to the EIT. So a dedicated budget has also been foreseen for innovation ecosystems under this specific pillar of Horizon Europe, which will also give us the means to implement some policy means and also some actions in support to innovation ecosystems throughout the framework program. To make a distinction from the start, if you look at the European Innovation Council, and I will go through 2 slides later on just to give you also the context on the Council, and the EIT here through the innovation ecosystems, it is really supporting the players of the ecosystems and the ecosystems themselves in the way they operate in Europe. We do not support directly the innovators. This is done by the EIC and the EIT. Here we want to have a focused action on the ecosystems themselves and provide support to those ecosystems in Europe. So the budget that is foreseen is around 500 million euro, and which also gives us the means, as I said, to support also financially some of the actions. Next slide, please. So why did we specifically focus also under Horizon Europe on innovation and also on disruptive innovation? We know the reasons. I will go very quickly through this slide. We have very strong research systems in Europe and also strong research performance in Europe. However, there is still this problem, this issue that we need to foster the access to investment and access to the market of our investors. And there is also in Europe a lack of breakthrough disruptive innovation. We want to tackle specifically those issues, those hurdles that innovators face in Europe, notably this specific moment where the innovation is moving from the moment where it goes out, where it emerges from the labs, from the universities, from the research centers to the commercialization process, and where it moves to the business and can access new markets. We also would like to tackle the specific issue of companies which have started, but which at some point are also facing a moment where they need even to grow more, and in order to grow also to get better access to financial support, be it public support or be it private support. So these are the elements that we would like to tackle through this Pillar 3 under Horizon Europe. Linking it also not only to the innovators and the innovations that cover the whole innovation chain, we also would like to have an impact and an action on the ecosystems themselves, as I have said. We have in Europe very different ecosystems. We have strong ecosystems. We have some which are also more moderate in terms of innovation. And this is the overall ecosystem at European level that we would also like to tackle. The fragmented picture that we have at European level is not necessarily a weakness, it is also a strength, and making sure that those ecosystems also better get together, better connect to each other, this will also increase the strength of the overall ecosystems in Europe. So this is also one element that we would like to tackle, and for which specifically we also identified the policy means and the policy support means for innovation ecosystems in Europe. Next slide, please. The Innovation Council. Here, as I said, we will tackle disruptive innovation from the directly, and also innovators. Why I just briefly mentioned the European Innovation Council in my presentation, because we will have to act closely also with the Innovation Council in building and developing our policy support to innovation ecosystems in the future. The players which apply, the innovators which will apply to the European Innovation Council are also those players that need support not only on the financial side, but also on the ecosystem side in order for them to grow. And behind the European Innovation Council, what we foresee is to have really a one-stop shop for breakthrough and disruptive innovation. If you remember in the past, the framework program, we had several actions, several initiatives targeting SMEs, targeting startups and players of the innovation ecosystems. However, we had different schemes. And here with the European Innovation Council, the the idea is really to have this one-stop shop where from the moment where the idea emerges in the labs to the moment where it gets commercialized and the moment where it reaches access to the market and also reaches investors, which will help them even to grow further. We cover the whole innovation and whole support chain through the Innovation Council. This is why we have foreseen several instruments. I won't go into more details, but the idea is to have agile instruments in support of disruptive innovations through the Pathfinder, which cover this part of the innovation before the commercialization. Then the accelerators part, where we have designed some specific instruments that help also better investing in those companies which will bring their innovations to the market. So through the accelerator, we also have new funding instruments that will help startups and SMEs and companies to grow even further. And here the idea is to accompany them also throughout this process of support of development of these companies within also the Innovation Council, with dedicated support, for instance, through program managers, which will manage portfolio of projects and which will accompany those innovations throughout their development. So here innovation ecosystems will work hand in hand with the European Innovation Council and also hand in hand with the EIT and other policies throughout Horizon Europe. Next slide, please. So what did we do in order to prepare our work program on innovation ecosystems? In order to, since we had to start a new work program to support specifically innovation ecosystem players and also innovation ecosystems themselves, we conducted a broad consultation process last year, which results have been presented in the report that is available. And there were three main elements that innovators, that innovation ecosystem players were putting forward, and those innovation ecosystem players in Horizon Europe are very broadly defined. It ranges from universities, SMEs, startups, funding agencies, cities, regional authorities, investors, and so on. So those players put forward three main elements on which we should have an action and which we should tackle in terms of supporting innovation ecosystems in Europe. The first one is the connectedness, and from the speakers we had just in the introduction and before on their own ecosystems in the Baltic countries, we could already see that this connectivity among the various players and ecosystems is a critical element. So this was put forward as one of the critical elements. The second one is, of course, linked to the competences that innovation ecosystem players need also to retain in order to further grow and to be and to reach out to new markets in Europe or overall. And these competences, we need to have an action also at that level. As you know, innovation is moving fast. We need to know what will be the next wave of innovation in the coming years, and for that we need to support companies acquire the right competencies in order for them to innovate. And of course, capital, which is one of the third element that has been mainly raised by the innovation ecosystem players, and which is tackled mainly at the level of the European Innovation Council and also throughout other funding means in Horizon Europe and also in other programs. So here, based on these three elements, we have taken this on board in order to design a work program that will support specifically the various actors of innovation ecosystems and the ecosystems themselves at local, regional, and national level. Next slide, please. Which gives a first picture of the structure of the innovation ecosystems work program that we have designed. There will be mainly two parts in this work in our policy means to support innovation ecosystems in the next years. The first one, as I said, is not only linked to funding possibilities that will be allocated to innovation ecosystem actors. The first one will be those policy means, and we had already also some examples in the previous introductions from different Baltic countries. There is a need to discuss some issues that are common to the various players of innovation ecosystems, and that are still hurdles either for innovators or for the various players of innovation ecosystems in Europe. And within an EIC forum, which will be constituted with representatives of national innovation agencies and authorities and ministries from member states and associated countries, we will address those issues which are manifold in order to provide recommendations to policymakers in the future in order to tackle those problems that are common, or those issues that are common to all innovation ecosystems in Europe. We foresee for this EIC forum also a flexible way of operating, since we would like to bring in all the various players in order also to tackle specific questions which are not necessarily linked to technology or to a specific sector or to one category of players or to specific categories of actors of innovation ecosystems. We really want to have a flexible way to bringing the various actors of innovation ecosystems within this policy-making discussions. We had previously the discussion about foundation. This is typically, for instance, a topic where we can discuss all together via the EIC forum. Then we will have a dedicated part of fund supporting innovation ecosystems through our scheme via funding means. The first one and the main funding mean will be through co-funding joint innovation programs or initiatives strategy. Here we follow a bottom-up approach. We do not focus on specific actors. We do not focus on a specific sector or specific field. We really want to cover the breadth of innovation ecosystems, players, breadth of sector, and also different strategies or initiatives that could be put in place. And this is already one of the questions that was asked: what kind of players could apply to those programs? We have here a very broad approach that does not focus specifically on some actors, some players, some topics, or some actions. We foster our actions towards private entities, public entities, businesses, private sector, and so on. So here, co-funded in joint innovation initiatives or programs will be supported. Then we also foresee specific means in order to support the ecosystems themselves via, for instance, mentoring, coaching, technical support for the innovation ecosystem players, those which also work within their ecosystems in order to support their innovators. Here we also foresee dedicated support for those players, for those networks that are either existing, like Startup Europe, like EEN, like the NCP network. We foresee specific support for them, but also for potentially new emerging platforms or networks that could emerge throughout Horizon Europe. And then we also have a policy mentoring perspective throughout our program. So here, a very broad structure or very general structure of our program, where we will have policy means in support of ecosystems and also some dedicated funding means through our program in order to support the innovation ecosystem players and ecosystem systems themselves at European level. Next slide, please. So we spoke also already, we heard also already some links that need to be done within the ecosystems with other policies that are existing, for instance, smart specialization strategies. There is also very strong focus in Horizon Europe to make the right connections with other other programs, like regional support programs, like other programs throughout Horizon Europe, or also at European level. And just to give you also one example, in the next agency that will be dedicated, that will support, that will lead the EIC and innovation ecosystems, we foresee also, for instance, to work and to also support the implementation of the future interregional innovation investment program. For instance, these links will be made in order to ensure complementarity, in order to ensure the synergies between those programs. And this will also be foreseen in our work program on innovation ecosystems. And we will basically conduct these activities through three main pillars in the work program. The first one will be dedicated to the connections between the ecosystem players and ecosystems themselves, which is called the Connect pillar of our work program. The second one will be dedicated to the support to companies and to ecosystems in order to help companies to grow, in order to help companies to reach out to some investment possibilities and markets. This is called the Scale Up program, and also through the support to Innovative SMEs program, the successor of Eurostars 2. And I've already seen that there are also some support foreseen from the Baltic countries for the successor of Eurostars 2 in the future. So here also a very clear structure with three main pillars under innovation ecosystem in terms of funding through our work program, not forgetting the links that we can make with other policies, other support program, other strategies like the smart specialization strategy. Next slide, please. In order to prepare the ground for Horizon Europe, we also have launched last year a certain number of actions in order to pave the way for those initiatives. I won't go in detail through these actions, but mainly we have supported a certain number of pilot initiatives, notably some initiatives which where we will foresee closer links, closer cooperation between the EIC and the EIT KICS innovation communities. Here we have 4 pilot actions that are currently in finalizing the negotiation through the previous work program on an enhanced EIC pilot work program. We also support a dedicated pilot scheme on supporting scaling up startups at a moment where they also need to access new investors at a larger scale. So here we also support this pilot activity. And in order also to pave the way for our future EIC forum, which will gather innovation agencies, ministries, and innovation ecosystem players, we launched a pilot action in order to get together the national and regional authorities in a mutual learning exercise and exchange and program in order to discuss, in order to address the common tools and resources that are dedicated to innovation ecosystem players at national or regional level. So these pilot programs or pilot projects will also be implemented in the next years in order also to serve as a models and also to serve as a paving the ground for future actions under innovation ecosystems. Next slide, please. So to go a little bit more in detail under each of the pillars of the innovation ecosystem work programs, here in the next slides, you will mainly see the type of activities that we intend to implement under the work program, the type of support that we intend to provide to the innovation ecosystems in Europe. So the EIC first, as I said, I described very broadly what would be the EIC forum. There would be 3 main objectives through the EIC forum, gathering the various ecosystem players. The first one, given that it was one of the challenges mentioned in our public consultation, the idea would really be to discuss and to provide recommendations at policy level on the ways to facilitate the connectivity of those different players and these different ecosystems in Europe. So if there are hurdles, if there are ways to make it more efficient, these elements could also be discussed within the EIC forum, and where there could be solutions to be put forward to policymakers and innovation ecosystem players at national and European level on those topics. Then reflections could also take place on the tools that are also provided to innovation and to innovators in Europe. What kind of instrument can really foster innovation in the future? We see that we go from public support, that there is a broad variety of supporting innovators in many programs, also at European level. The EIC brings with it, using the novelty of providing investment in those companies through a mixed type of grants and equity funding. So there are various tools that can even more support innovation ecosystem players, and those could also be part of the discussion. And of course, the third strand would be also to reflect on those barriers that may happen nationally or at European level in fostering innovation, supporting the innovation players, notably linked to regulation or some specific provisions in the various legislation, in the various national systems that may still hinder innovation and investing in innovation. So these elements would be discussed within the EIC forum. We have also launched some policy discussions already under Horizon 2020. You have here 3 examples, but one example was, for instance, the cooperation with philanthropic actors. You will see in our future work program, Horizon Europe, that cooperation and possibilities of co-creation of initiatives with philanthropic actors is also foreseen. So here we already launched a discussion at that level as well under Horizon 2020, also discussion about some tools to be put forward for innovators, like innovation procurement, which more and more and very frequently is seen as one of the as a major tool to support innovation and to support the links between the private and the public and the private sector. So this is in a nutshell what we foresee and the main objectives of the EIC forum in the future, to have these policy discussions at European level. Next slide, please. On this connect part, this connect pillar, here the idea is really under this pillar to focus on the connectivity of the innovation ecosystem players, of the SMEs, universities, startups, funding agencies, and so on, and to have an action at the level of the innovation ecosystem themselves. This part of the framework program will be mainly supported, as you could see in one of the previous slides, through co-fund activities, through co-fund actions. And here we will support not only preparatory actions in order to set joint programs or joint strategies, but we will also be able to support joint action plans for the future, which will help those connections between the various players in Europe, the regional, local, national authorities, and we will support those connection means and those facilitations to bring those innovation players together and make them work together in order to go beyond the limits of their own local or regional or national ecosystems. So here, focus on preparatory actions and on the action plans themselves, knowing that at this level, we won't fund directly the innovators. If there is a joint goal to be funded, for instance, this will not be part of the funding to be provided, but we will support those means that will help the innovation ecosystem players to work together, to cooperate, and to better network among themselves. Then we foresee also through some actions support to innovation procurements, building capacities in the member states, in the regions at European level on innovation procurement, and also having an action in order to stimulate innovation procurement in the future. And we also cover innovation in the broad sense, not only tech or deep tech innovation. We would also like to have in action support social innovation and public sector innovation. So here under the Connect part, we also foresee some dedicated action in support of social innovation. Now moving to the next slide and to the scale-up part. The idea here is while you had in the previous chapter the support to the connectivity of ecosystems, here the idea is to support those ecosystems that work towards the businesses, towards the startups, the SMEs, and all those players which will bring their innovations to the market. So here again, we also have a certain number of support means. The idea through the acceleration means of ecosystems will be to support actions between less connected innovation ecosystems, those modest or those moderate innovators in Europe, and we will here have some dedicated action. The same with entrepreneurial ecosystems. looking back at the introduction slide where competencies and skills were essential, here the idea is also to link and to facilitate the access through some initiatives to access to competencies, to skills, and to support entrepreneurial education through dedicated programs. So here, again, an action on the ecosystem themselves, which could be directed to entrepreneurship and business. And also another pillar, which is the support to investment ecosystems. Here, the idea would be also to attract investors in regions, in territories which are moderate or modest innovators, in order also to support access to funding from those innovation ecosystems. We will also have a dedicated action on deep tech ecosystems. There are very positive, very successful examples of some ecosystems in the deep tech sectors at European level, and the idea would be also to use this excellent example in order to expand to other technological fields, other deep tech sectors, in order also to provide some ecosystem building in that field. And of course, gender policy and gender equality is key in our program, not only throughout Horizon Europe, but also throughout the innovation ecosystem programs, where we will also support women entrepreneurs, women co-founders. And we have a dedicated action that we have just launched on the 8th of March, which is called the Women Tech EU initiative. I can say later on a few words on the eligibility criteria. I've seen that this is a question that was asked by the audience, but we support here also an action that is dedicated to women co-founders of deep tech companies, at the early stage of the creation of these companies. This is the moment where investment, where support is very heavily needed, and here we support a dedicated action in that field. So you can see through the scale-up activities that there is a breadth of initiative and a breadth of possibilities to support innovation ecosystem that we intend to put in place. Next slide, please. Then we have also the support to the successor of Eurostars, which will be provided through our work program. We have foreseen explicitly a financial support to cross-border collaboration and internationalization of innovative SMEs in the future, in support of those SMEs. And the successor of Eurostars 2, which is Innovative SMEs program, will also be supported through this program. It will take some part of the budget also dedicated to innovation ecosystems in the future. So more or less half of the budget dedicated to innovation ecosystem will be offered in support of Innovative SMEs program, and will also help supporting those cross-border collaboration and internationalization of SMEs in the future. So here, this is also foreseen under this dedicated work program on innovation ecosystems. And of course, the links will have to be made between this program and the EIC and the EIT, and also with other support part of innovation ecosystem actions and initiatives. Next slide, please. And here, I think that will be my last slide for this presentation before we can move to the questions and answers. We have also some dedicated support that is foreseen for innovation ecosystems within the EIC work program that was adopted in March. So these actions are basically around two main blocks of initiatives. We have the EIC prizes. You certainly know already some of them, the iCapital Award, the prize for women innovators, but we also added to the EIC prizes the social innovation competition, which has been launched on the 8th of April of this year. So here the links also to those schemes are provided in the links that is on the bottom of the slides. you can have a look into these prizes, into these competitions that have been launched. And we also have launched, in order to support, raise awareness about innovation procurement, we have launched a new Innovation Procurement Award on the 14th of April, which is also a prize that will support and foster procurement, innovation procurement in the future. So here this is under the EIC work program, but of course there are clearly links with innovation ecosystems. And we will also, through the EIC work program, support the Startup Europe network and build the synergies with the EIC with a dedicated action also under the EIC. So here, with all these slides, it covers the breadth of support that will be brought, not necessarily to the innovators and funding innovators themselves. This is done through other programs, but through the ecosystem themselves, and those at European level, locally, nationally, regionally, those who support innovators in Europe. And throughout this breadth of the program, we expect also to foster further these actions. In the future, next slide, please. I think it was my last slide. Yes, in the future, what we intend to do, as I said, it is the first work program dedicated to innovation ecosystems that we have set up under a framework program. The adoption is foreseen very soon. We are part of the overall adoption process of the other work programs under Horizon Europe. So we expect an adoption of our work program very soon, in complement to the EIC work program. And what we really want to make is that that with this first program that will also serve as a test, as looking into those initiatives that can be successful and that can support with the most impact our innovators, we will really build together with other programs that are supporting innovation with the EIC, with the EIT, build together a work program that will have an impact in the future, together with the policy support that we will have through the EIC forum. So this is more or less what is foreseen under our work program, the various actions. I can also go in more details about the support themselves, the support itself, but also mainly through quite classic funding means that we use in Horizon Europe, common coordination and support actions, co-funded actions. So here, clearly a dedicated support in support of the ecosystems themselves. So that was my presentation. Many thanks for your attention, and I'm very pleased also to answer the questions that have been already sent and put in the chat box maybe, and I'm open to any further question you may have. But if needed, I can also go through the various questions that have already been submitted. Many thanks for your attention. And of course, information can be provided on the slides. The slides will be distributed, and we are also available in my unit and at the level of the future agency, which are the agency that will lead the EIC and innovation ecosystems. We are also happy to support you and to answer any question if you may have some in the future. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. And from your last sentences, I would really highlight some things which are perhaps not which are very clear to science administrators, but perhaps not so clear for the applicants, that the work program is not yet officially approved, and it will happen very soon, as it was just mentioned now, but we cannot give a certain date when it will be done. But I have observed the process, and we are really finalizing the work programs, and it will be very soon officially approved. One thing what you mentioned as well, and what is very important, is the NCP network support that is foreseen, and we will further on in our agenda introduce the NCPs as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So we will put together the names and faces, and the NCP would be the first contact point. The NCP means national contact point, and the NCP would be the first person who would contact in our country to get the first information and to have really the help, every kind of help you need in the preparation of your proposal, or as well later on when you have, for example, the reporting needs, and NCPs can help with that. And as Ms. Gautier mentioned as well, there are some bottom-up calls. This is perhaps not very common to all Horizon Europe work programs, so I would really suggest to look into that. Then I think what was very good, what was mentioned, that there are synergies with other programs. So I would recommend as well to later on see the presentations yourself and take time really to see the synergies and opportunities for cooperation within other programs as well, if you are interested in those topics which were just presented. But I have one thing to mention as well, that perhaps not all participants are familiar that the work program and the application process will be done in the funding and tenders portal. So if Brigitta, for example, could post the link to funding and tenders portal so people could get familiar already with the portal. And we have received some questions in advance, and perhaps one thing to draw attention more, that you mentioned that there will be several different types of calls, and the applicants range is quite wide. So there are different organizations expected to apply. But are there some program-specific requirements, for example, what is coming from call type, like SME related calls or CSA format calls?
Thank you.
If you could comment that, please.
Yes, thank you. What you mentioned, just as a summary, is very important. The fact that under ecosystems, we have bottom-up calls. We do not specifically focus on some type of actors. We do not specifically focus on some sectors, on some fields, or also on some initiatives. We really want here to bring together those actors which identify a certain need, be it at local, regional, or national level, and that would like to provide a solution to the challenges those actors are facing. So you will look, you will be able to see in the work program itself, under each of the various calls that will be identified, the target groups of actors that we intend maybe to focus on within for each individual initiative. So here there is a target group of potential players, but we do not specify that we would like only SMEs or SMEs plus funding agencies and so on. No, there is a target group of players that is identified in the call, and also a list of actions or a list of the objectives, of course, and the actions that could be supported through each different call. And here I believe that it will provide relevant information. This is something that we did deliberate choice that we had under innovation ecosystems, since we have such a broad variety of ecosystems in Europe. We have such a broad variety of players and also of systems that support innovation ecosystems, that we did not want to specifically target some, make some targets. But of course the groups are mentioned, and when we mention, I think it was one of the questions, or I have seen it already at several occasions in presentations. Can, for instance, non-profit organizations apply, foundations apply? Yes, we intend to broaden even our scope in order to bring in the players in under our program. And there is an important element that is also fostered, that is also bringing in the civil society, the citizens. So here, if you look at, we follow mainly the definition of Horizon Europe. The Horizon Europe provides a definition of ecosystems that is focused on the players, and you will see it's a very broad variety of players. So here, in terms of who can be targeted, maybe I could immediately make the link, since we are talking about who could apply maybe to our programs, also on a question that was asked, which was linked to the associated countries, the widening countries, and which type of participant or country could participate. Here we also follow the rules of Horizon Europe. Our programs and call calls will be open to member states in Europe, but also to associated countries. As you know, or maybe for those who do not know, the association agreements with the countries for Horizon Europe are still not finalized. So I could not give you yet a fixed list of those associated countries that will be identified under Horizon Europe. But for sure, once the negotiations are finalized, the associated countries will be fully involved in our programs. And this is also the case for innovation ecosystems. The widening countries are those which are defined in Horizon Europe, and those that you probably know. Also in our work program on innovation ecosystem, the list of widening countries is also provided. So here relevant information is also provided in our work program. And in relation to third country participation, here we follow basically the rules of Horizon Europe. We follow the same rules. So there are no other conditions or specific criteria to third country participation, but the ones which are foreseen for Horizon Europe. So we follow the very broad approach of Horizon Europe, but we have really a focus on this bottom-up approach, where we would like to bring in those players depending on their needs and depending on the challenges that they have to face, either locally, regionally, or nationally.
Thank you. And I would mention as well that this attracting like different actors to participate in Horizon Europe, it's our Estonian national goal as well for this period. So we will have finally the opening launch event for Horizon Europe on 4th of May, and our Director General will stress that in her speech as well, that this is one of the really important targets. Then you have already tackled so many questions which were asked during the registration, but perhaps to stress one question more, it's about promotion activities, sorry. So do you have something planned already, and some info days or some other events?
That is currently being developed. What we intend to do for innovation through the EIC and innovation ecosystems and the EIT is really to have also, in terms of communication, dissemination and outreach of our activities, this one-stop one single approach towards our communication. So we do not have yet any dedicated event that is planned in the near future on our work programs per se, but this is in discussion. Now we have just launched, or at least the agency that will manage the EIC program and also the innovation ecosystems programs has just been set up. We have one portal, and it is on my last slide. We have also one portal where all the funding means under the EIC and innovation ecosystems will also be informed. So here it is linked to this common joint communication approach that we foresee. Now we are probably also planning some events after the summer, but I could not tell you right now which would be this event. It is work in progress, and I really also encourage you to follow on our portal under the EIC and also the Horizon Europe portal. Our program will also be informed there. But under the EIC program portal, you will certainly find all relevant information. We also disseminate information and participate to presentations for our program. There is, however, one big event that will be taking place in the very near future, which are the Eic and Eit days, which will take place in June, and on which here we will also have a dedicated hub for the EIC. So I also invite you here through the Eic and Eit days that will be organized in June, that you also find relevant information about our activities that have been launched through the EIC and also through innovation ecosystems.
Thank you. I would really encourage as well to participate in my R&I days, because it's really one place where you get the whole overview of the whole program and everything what the European Commission is planning. And my colleague Brigitte already posted here the link to the R&I days, so you could already have a look what is planned. So we have one question in the chat, and perhaps it's not really directly connected to the European innovation ecosystems, but it's about EIC and EIT, that the participant is a bit confused. What is the main difference between those organizations? And could you perhaps with 2-3 sentences elaborate what is the main difference between EIC and EIT?
Yeah, yes, I will try in a few sentences. The EIC focuses first, and that's one essential element, on disruptive innovation and breakthrough innovation. We support those innovators that provide disruptive innovation. We have also under the EIC, if you look at the calls that will be published or that are already published, we also do not focus on a specific field or specific domain. So this is the same bottom-up approach, same broad approach that we follow under the innovation ecosystems. So here support is provided directly to innovators, also single innovators, companies that would like to apply for funding under the EIC. So here, this also broad scope of disruptive innovation to be funded. We follow those calls on also. We have also those calls on an open basis. We do not have. There is also throughout the whole duration of the program, applicants can submit their proposals in the domain of deep tech disruptive innovation. For the EIT, you know, it works more on the sectoral base. You have also the idea of bringing in education and entrepreneurship very prominently in the EIT, and the EIT KICs, the communities of players under the EIT, are also tackling a specific scientific field, a specific field of innovation. So I would see here, in a nutshell, the main differences between EIC and EIT KICs, and also the type of funding that will be provided is quite innovative in terms of the EIC. Here, through our mixed funding via the accelerator, the moment where an innovation can be commercialized, we support also those innovators via grants and also via equity funding, having an investment in those companies in order to support the growth of the companies. So here, focusing on companies. On the EIT KICs, you have more a programmative approach, more a consortium approach on a certain field, and also the education, the entrepreneurial dimension, which is also very prominently also focused on between those two different schemes.
Thank you. I think it was very clear. Very good explanation. Thank you very much. So I think we can go on because we have covered the questions which were sent us earlier, and as well the questions in the chat. So I would like to thank you very much for the presentation. And we would continue on the same topic. So Eurostars and now it's known as Innovative SMEs. And we have Maria Värton from Enterprise Estonia, who could speak more about that. So Maria, please, the screen is yours.
Yeah, thank you. As said, I'm Maria Värton, working in Enterprise Estonia as a development cooperation expert. And I am responsible for coordinating Eurostars program in Estonia. First, I'd like to thank also from my side, Mrs Fabienne GAUTIER. Thank you. That was really comprehensive overview of the EU innovation ecosystem, as it is so complex and huge. You can easily get lost there. So this guidance was really helpful. And so we saw how complex the whole picture is. And I will zoom into one element only among many. So it will be Eurostars, which is run by Eureka network. So there are really two keywords to remember: this Eurostars and Euroca. And first, I will say some words about Euroca. This is the institution which is running the projects. So can I get please the next slide? So Euroca is a leading platform for international cooperation. And as you probably already noticed, it is cooperating with the EU. So it is intergovernmental network. It consists more than 40 countries, and it is supporting market-oriented research and development projects. And I'd like to stress that it is facilitating access to finance. It's not providing finance. The financing part is done in cooperation with member countries. So the Euroca is the institution, but the program is called Eurostars, and this is just one of Euroca's instrument. And on the next slide, I will introduce Eurostars. What is the program about? I've got quite strict time limits. Well, when I just mentioned the keywords. So Eurostars is joint program between Euroca and the EU. It is dedicated to R&D performing SMEs and to innovative SMEs. It is going to be changed. So it encourages, or rather requires, international cooperation. And so it provides also some support to find the partners. It has bottom-up approach, so it's not restricted to some fields or technologies. And the projects should be market-oriented. And so in the next slide, I will present really the Eurostars countries. So Eurostars countries are not only European countries, also countries from the other continents participate in this institution. So it really provides a wide range of partners for R&D collaboration. Now, what projects are these Eurostar projects? So you can see that there are 36 countries you can where you can find partners, but what can be a typical Eurostars project? So can I please get the next slide? And as I mentioned, Eurostar project really requires international collaboration. So in the typical Eurostar project, there are at least 2 participants, but mostly there are more, like 3 or 4 participants. And they should be at least from 2 countries. So typically there are 2 or 3 countries. The average duration of projects is 30 months. The maximum is 36 months. And the average project costs are, well, more than 1 million euros. So this is a typical project, which just to give you an overview of characteristics of a Eurostars project. As it is said, one picture says more than 1,000 words, so we can move on to the next slide. And this shows how it looks like. The SMEs are in the driving seat. This is important to keep in mind that with projects, the SMEs have to be the main partner, the promoter of the project. And R&D performing or innovative SME is always the project leader. It is sitting in the driving seat, and R&D institutions are really fueling this flight. So let's move on to the next slide, please. And about fueling, then there's always a question about money. And here is the clear division of labor if Eureka institution and national funding bodies. So the evaluation is made by Eureka Secretariat, but financing is provided by national funding bodies for positively evaluated projects. In Estonia, the national funding body is Enterprise Estonia. But yes, here is, you see that the cooperation, the evaluation is made centrally by Eureka Secretariat, and financing is carried out by national funding bodies. Next submission deadline will be in the second half of this year, and we will keep you informed if there's more information available. And of course, you can get more information from web. Eureka Network gives you really detailed overview, but you can always contact me to get more information about these projects and also financing conditions. So I will say some more words about this cooperation and how is it really, how it works. So the next slide explains how this funding part is made. So when Eureka projects are always, there are different participants from different countries. When Eureka Secretariat has positively evaluated a project, then the national funding bodies can finance these projects. So that the grants are provided by national funding bodies, and these financing requirements, conditions, they are somewhat different. So, and you can always contact your national financing body to get more information about your financing conditions, because these may really vary from country to country. And Estonian grant information is available in our website, so you can really see how is it, what are the costs you can cover. But now to conclude, I will just introduce on the last slide the contacts, as I really stressed that the most important here is to have a proper network and proper contacts. So here we are, national project coordinators in Baltic countries, Daiva, Laura and Maria. And so you are most welcome to contact us, and we are happy to consult you on the project ideas. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Maria. So as Maria stressed that if you are not from one of the Baltic countries, try to find who is your national funding body, and then contact them, because most probably they are the national contact points for a program, and they could further advise you how to apply and which are the conditions. And we have one question in the chat. How will the Eurostars 3 call differ from Eurostars 2? So could you elaborate a bit on that? So as much as how much, like perhaps there is not so much information about that yet, because as you mentioned, the call will be published in autumn, but perhaps there is already something foreseen.
Yes, there is one keyword maybe I can stress right now, but this is just moving from R&D performing SMEs towards innovative SMEs. So it allows us a bit more broader approach to participating companies. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can give more details on that later on, and as soon as all the information gets official, we will inform and we offer all the information in the package with all the other grant options as well, not just this and that. So you can get the overall overview of these options.
And perhaps to comment that as well, that together with Liina office, we have organized several different info days, and we have tried to open new angles how to participate in the Horizon Europe and in the framework program in general. So one way to participate is to be the evaluator. And we have discussed with Enterprise Europe, Enterprise Estonia as well, that perhaps in the autumn would be nice to organize a joint event. If there is more information about the new call and then about the evaluation as well, would be nice to open this angle and yeah, talk about more how the evaluation is organized and if it's possible to participate as an evaluator. But those are the future plans, so stay tuned. Okay, thank you very much, Maria. It was a very nice overview. And as you will get the slides, then you can contact the contact persons directly. Okay, but we talked about the national support. So we have the national contact points. And we have the national contact points as well in the Horizon Europe for EIA program. And I would ask now to switch on the cameras for those national contact points who we will introduce now. And I would briefly give the word first to our Lithuanian colleague Edita, and if you could say a few words about yourself and what kind of services you provide for the applicants.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone, dear participants. I'm really happy to be today with you, dear organizers, representative of European Commission, national speakers and colleagues, NCPs from Latvia and Estonia. Thank you very much for your cooperation and collaboration. I'm Edita from Vilnius, Lithuania, and I have been working at Agency for Science, Innovation and Technology since 2011, and I have been NCP for 5 years. Now I'm starting my new positions as NCP for European Innovation Ecosystems, and also I'm NCP for EAC Accelerator, EAC Transition, EAC Pathfinder, and EIT as well. I would like to give you a short information about services for Horizon Europe Pillar 2 and Pillar 3 applicants in Lithuania and in our agency. NCPs are nominated by Ministry of Education, Science and Sports and European Commission and play a key role as provider of information to applicants. National contact points task have helped clients to achieve success in Horizon Europe. And in my daily activities, I perform trainings how to write a winning proposal for EAC Accelerator, EAC Pathfinder, and also I perform proofreading. Our agency organizes info days, events, expert consultations for Horizon Europe applicants, and as I mentioned before, Cluster 2 and Cluster 3. Pillar 2 and Pillar 3. And I would like, in conclusion, I would like to kindly invite you to contact us by email, by phone, or IT platform, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Thank you very much for your attention and have a good day.
Thank you very much for that. So could we get the next slide, please? We have here in our Latvian colleague, Maria. Maria, please.
Yeah, hi. I was expected to talk about, but still, yeah, my name is Maria. I'm a national contact point in Latvia. My specialty is enterprises mostly. I'm working with this program since almost from the start of 2020. So I still remember SME 1-2 phases. And yeah, I think that the services are pretty much the same as the colleague just said. I think. So yeah, proofreading and help for entrepreneurs to get funding. And also, of course, I try to integrate now all these new modern technologies to make some film videos, to get to be interactive and to make information easy and handy and user-friendly for the clients, because I think that the biggest problem of the program, let's say, we are working in is that it's huge and it's so hard to find information. So we are those gatekeepers, I think, that really help. I hope. Don't know what will be with this InnoLoop tool, but still I believe in people and maybe in synergy, technology and people. That's the key. Thank you very much. You have a good day.
Thank you very much. No, my experience is that NCPs are very helpful for our clients. So I would definitely recommend to contact Maria. So could we have next slide, please? So we have Eva here. Eva, please.
Yes, hello again. I'm Eva Bärenson, and I'm happy to help you regarding the European innovation ecosystems from Enterprise Estonia's side. So we will learn together since it's a new measure in this financing period. And if you have any questions regarding EIE, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. And we have one slide more. So we have Margit, my very good colleague from Estonia Research Council. So Margit, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Margit Ilves, as said. And first, many thanks to all speakers. At the moment, from the Estonian Research Council side, as an NCP, I cover the whole third pillar of Horizon Europe. And I'm also NCP for legal and financial issues. So you are welcome to ask me any questions about the third pillar, about EIC, EIT, EIE. And I'm also willing to provide assistance and help in questions about how to build up the budget of the project, Horizon Europe project specifically. And in later stages, everything that is related to projects, costs, eligibility rules, general eligibility rules, financial reporting, documentation of costs, etc. So feel free to contact me. If necessary, we can also involve other thematic NCPs here in Estonia, and we can offer you several services here, also up to proofreading of the project applications. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So you have now put together faces and names. I think it's always a very good thing. And I hope you feel now more comfortable to contact the NCPs. And NCPs, they have their own networks and so they are very knowledgeable. They share all the time the information between themselves, and I think it's very good opportunity to take advantage on that. We have one other presentation, and it's also about support structure. And we have Rene Tõnisson from Baltic Innovation Agency to introduce the Enterprise Europe Network. Please, Rene.
Yes, thank you very much, Ulla, for giving me floor, and hello to everybody. Before saying something about Enterprise Europe Network and how we can help the companies applying for different European innovation ecosystem instruments, I just wanted to clarify that if you were listening what NCPs offers, and the Enterprise Europe Network goes perhaps even one step further in terms of providing hands-on support. So we are also engaged in helping companies to write the specific proposals. So while NCPs give advice and feedback, they are not engaged in actually writing and editing the proposals. But some of the Enterprise Europe Network partners do, and if you need help in that sense, then Enterprise Europe Network is exactly the right place to ask for support and advice. And let me just highlight quickly a few services what we offer and what Enterprise Europe Network is. So if you can move to the next slide, please. The Enterprise Europe Network is the biggest business and innovation support network in the world, and our main clients are SMEs with international growth ambition. However, we do support also other type of organizations like research institutes, universities, even NGO sector, but our main clients are ambitious SMEs. So next slide, please. The whole network has presence in more than 60 countries, and if you know that EU currently has 27 after Brexit, then there are more countries outside of EU which are partners in Enterprise Europe networks and EU core countries, and there are around 3,000 plus local experts who work for those type of SMEs and their needs. So if I can have next slide. The whole value proposition from Enterprise Europe Network side is that we combine the international dimension of looking at the SMEs and startups which have the growth ambition with a local knowledge of specific market, specific region, and specific country. And if I can have next slide, please. Then in broad terms, we offer three types of services. We help with international partnerships, finding both commercial project partners, technology development partners from other countries. We provide advisory support, which is similar to what NCPs do, but in different areas like EU legal frameworks, the IPR regulations, and so on. And perhaps most importantly, in the current context, we provide innovation support, which is helping companies to access finance. This is mostly public finance, but it can also be private finance in terms of helping them to get funding from business angels, venture capital funds, and so on. And if I can have a next slide, please. No, yes, this one, exactly. So support which is given to the SMEs, we call it individually tailored support, which means that we have some sort of kind of innovation mapping, innovation audit type of process where we look at the needs of each individual SME and we try to provide a solution, be it in terms of funding or in terms of partnership for this particular SME and to meet its need. So it can be either in terms of helping them to access grants like the upcoming European Innovation Ecosystem grants or other grants, but it can also be a validating of their business and innovation ideas in an earlier phase when they are not ready yet for investments or financing. And we also engage, apart from funding, helping them to find right technologies through promotion of international technology transfer service, as well as finding right cooperation partners through our international partner search service. And for those interested in applying in the upcoming calls, of course, this service might be valuable in terms of identifying suitable partners and other companies or organizations interested in same calls across Europe. So if I can have next slide. As you saw, Enterprise Europe Network is present in 60 countries, but we're also very strongly present in Baltic countries. In Estonia, there are 5 partners, 5 different organizations, and involved in network. You can find their contact details and profiles in our Estonian Enterprise Europe Network homepage. The same goes for Latvia and Lithuania, which both have a number of partners located also in regional offices. And of course, for each company, the first contact point is always a local or regional Enterprise Europe Network representative, which is closest to your location. And if you have any questions or requests for further information, I'm of course very happy to provide it afterwards. You have my contact details here, my email and my phone, so please feel free to follow up our contact if relevant and interested. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish everybody good luck with the future applications to upcoming European Innovation Ecosystems calls. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rene. And I see that my colleague Brigitte has already posted one example as well of one event what was co-organized with Enterprise Europe Network. So there are very many several events going on. And so I encourage you to find your local contact point for Enterprise Europe Network. And if you have some last minute questions, please post them in the chat. At the moment, I see that we have answered all the questions in the chat. If I have missed something, I hope my colleagues will notify me. But I think I have captured all the questions. So I think we could conclude because I don't see any further questions. And I would like to thank all the participants, all the speakers, especially Ms. Fabienne GAUTIER from European Commission for joining us today and giving us a very good first overview of European Innovation Ecosystem Programme and all its related policies and synergies with other programs, and answering for all our questions. So it is very much appreciated. And thank you as well for being part of this very historical moment, because it was the first Baltic event where all the Baltic countries were presented from different R&I offices. So you have made history with us, and please keep an eye on European Commission web pages and as well see our dissemination channels. So we will forward you all the information, and we are planning several other events as well, still this spring and as well this autumn. So thank you once again, and let's stay in touch.